To prove that the natural scent of campus bells is all a milky fragrance, I directly grabbed 4 top-tier campus bells and got them drunk. Unexpectedly, they all begged to sleep with me. Not only did they all give me hickeys, love bites, but they also competed to kiss me. All because the doomsday has come. Many people have mutated into zombies. I've bound the Goddess Collection loot system. As long as I make beautiful women submit to me through physical contact, I can get various rare items and rewards. Top-tier sister bells, cold and elegant older sisters next door, maid ladies, all willingly submit to me. At this moment, I was pressing my body firmly against the dormitory door. A zombie outside the door was frantically trying to squeeze in. Behind me, 4 female college students were screaming in panic. Their screams made me extremely irritated. I cursed under my breath and continued to hold the door tightly shut. Veins stood out on my forehead. The 4 female college students immediately started chattering loudly. 3 of them spoke in even more disdainful tones. At this moment, I flew into a rage. I never would have imagined that just while fixing the water pipe in the dormitory, I ended up encountering a zombie. What should I do? Even if I use these 4 female college students as bait and manage to escape by luck, it's still highly likely to encounter other zombies on the way. It's going to get in. Just then, a sudden scream blasted right next to my ear. Causing me to zone out for a moment, the door immediately opened a crack, allowing the zombie to stretch a hand straight in. I was furious inside. Rage surged to the top of my head. What's the use of screaming? Shut the hell up. Detected host's anger has reached maximum level. Goddess Collection loot system is activating. System binding completed. Host is in a crisis situation. Newbie gift pack issued. Use immediately. Listening to the emotionless, mechanical female voice in my ear, I was overjoyed instantly. The cheat code is here. Lit. Guagua is here. Slang for the cheat advantage has arrived. No time to think further. I thought inwardly, use it. Ding. Sound effect of system prompt. Congratulations, host, for obtaining strength attribute points. 5 points of self-defense strength. As soon as the voice fell, a sharp, long knife appeared in my hand. At the same time, my strength nearly doubled. No time to carefully feel the changes in my body. Now that I have a weapon, I didn't hesitate any longer. I swung the knife fiercely at the zombie's right hand that had stretched in. A tearing sound, sizzle. I have to say, the strength given by the system is indeed worthy of its name. With one slash of the knife, there was no obstruction at all. Coupled with the strength boost, amidst the gush of fresh blood, the zombie's severed arm fell to the ground with a thud. In the next moment, I gave a hard push. The dormitory's iron door was shut tight at once. With quick hands and sharp eyes, I slid the door bolt into place. We're safe, but before I could catch my breath, the shrill screams rang out again. Ah! He's killed someone, and he's hiding a knife with blood on it. So much blood, hurry! Hurry up and call the police, damn it! I've really given you too much face. The crisis was temporarily resolved. Looking at these 4 little fairies, who were completely useless and kept screaming, I was filled with anger. I directly walked towards the one who was screaming the loudest and slapped her hard across the face. A soft slapping sound. Pah! 5 bright red finger marks appeared on her face. Shut up! In the next moment, the world fell silent. But only for a moment. Soon after, the girl who had been slapped came to her senses and looked at me in disbelief. She cursed, "You lousy plumber. How dare you hit me? Do you know who I am? Do you know how many people in this school are chasing after me? You big-headed guy, you even hit a woman, and you're still staring at us." Damn it, looking at these 4 little fairies, who were still yelling brazenly, my eyes turned sharp. I kicked the one who was yelling the loudest right in the stomach. Bang! In an instant, I kicked her flying. She crashed into the bed frame, then fell to the ground, her face turning pale, hugging her stomach and curling up. At this, the remaining 3 little fairies immediately fell silent. Shrinking back in fear, the dormitory became quiet. Just then, the commotion outside the dormitory came in clearly. All kinds of screams, cries for help, and wails echoed endlessly. My gaze fell on the system's explanation interface. It was filled with dense text, but I was stunned as I read it. In less than half a minute, I finished reading it. In fact, the entire content boiled down to 2 words: want to become stronger? And there was only one way: women. Women, damn it, still women. Goddess Loot System User Manual, according to the host. Collecting various goddesses can drop corresponding attribute points and rare items, or even high-level ability rewards. Note: collection requires physical contact and willing submission. After collection, various treasures can be dropped. After figuring out how to use the system, I couldn't help but turn my gaze to the three little fairies hiding in the corner. Earlier, things happened suddenly. It was a matter of life and death. I hadn't had time to look at them carefully. Now that I looked, I couldn't help but feel delighted. Although these three little fairies had terrible views on life, their looks and figures were all top tier. Most importantly, they could be collected by the system. I focused my gaze on the one who had yelled the loudest, and who was also the most beautiful among the three. I concentrated for a moment. A semi-transparent attribute panel appeared in my field of vision. Name, Su Yao, age 21, appearance 90, figure 91. Intimacy count, 0. Occupation, current student. Female college student. Douyin streamer with 1 million followers. Droppable attribute point, speed. Droppable item, 30 cubic meter dimensional space. Droppable special ability, 5 points. Finished reading. I was shocked immediately. Wow, what great stuff. And the speed attribute point is also very useful. As long as I run fast enough, zombies can't catch up. After reading the item information, I finally looked at Su Yao, who was huddled in the corner looking pitiful, and examined her carefully. Although her character and views were problematic, she truly deserved the high appearance score of 90 given by the system. Beneath her smooth shoulder-length hair were delicate facial features, big watery eyes, a small straight nose, and plump alluring red lips. Below that was a slender neck, with exquisite collarbones and prominent curves, lit to mountains protruding, referring to breasts. Her small white t-shirt couldn't hide her huge breasts at all. The fabric was stretched tight, as if ready to burst out. As for the other two, although their looks and figures were slightly inferior to Su Yao's, they were still campus belle-level beauties. Name, Zhang Li, age, 21, appearance, 90, figure, 85, intimacy, count. Occupation, current female college student, droppable attribute point. Speed, droppable reward item. FM 510 tactical silenced pistol, droppable special ability, 5 points. After reading the content on Zhang Li's attribute panel, I was extremely delighted. It can even drop a pistol. Wow, a hot weapon! This is perfect! And it's even silenced. It's absolutely ideal for dealing with zombies. Close combat carries some risk of infection, but long-range combat avoids such worries. Moreover, the silenced pistol makes little noise, completely allowing me to slowly eliminate the zombies nearby without a sound. There will also be bullet drops later. Now, the only thing I need to worry about is actually my shooting skill. As a Chinese person raised under the red flag of the motherland, I've basically never touched a gun before. Naturally, there's no way to talk about shooting accuracy. Zhang Li, who was in the corner wearing a JK uniform, saw me suddenly staring at her. Couldn't help but pull her short skirt up a bit, trying to cover her snow-white thighs as much as possible. At the same time, she crossed her arms defensively, hiding the deep cleavage on her chest. She had called me a weakling, lit thin dog slang for a weak man, many times before, and now she was afraid of retaliation. At this, the corner of my mouth lifted into a smile, and I looked at her freely and unbridledly. The young girl had a full bosom and a slender, shapely figure. Her expression was alert. Her pair of long, snow-white legs exuded an unusual allure. If only I could take her by force and do it. Unfortunately, the system's Sholu requirement stipulated that it must be voluntary. I felt a slight sense of regret, but soon brushed it aside. It's a minor issue. Now, the four of us are stuck in such a small room. I have countless ways to make these three willingly submit to me before long. The thought flashed through my mind in an instant. I turned my gaze to the last little fairy. Name, Lin Yuexuan. Age 23. Appearance 9100. Figure 88100. Charging count 1. Occupation, female university student. Intern doctor in hospital surgery department. Can drop attribute points. Can drop reward item stamina potion. Can drop special ability. 5 stamina potions. I was shocked once again. Another great item. In the tomb chamber, the importance of stamina is self-evident. It can even save lives at critical moments, when we have to flee from a horde of zombies in the future. I don't need to outrun the zombies. I just need to run faster and longer than the people around me. If I run out of stamina, it's not a big problem. Just chug a stamina potion and keep running. What do you want? Seeing me with eyes glowing, Lin Yuexuan, who was in the corner wearing a white lab coat, immediately shrank back in fear. She completely lost her previous arrogant demeanor. She is a senior, fourth-year student this year, currently rotating as an intern in the hospital's surgery department. She came back at noon to get some materials, never expecting to encounter zombies. Usually because she is beautiful, and from a wealthy family, numerous boys fawn over her. This has made her develop a habit of being arrogant and condescending, so she often spoke rudely to me. But just now, the scene where I threw that sanctimonious bitch out of the dormitory really scared her. Now she's afraid of being retaliated against. I cast a glance at Lin Yuexuan. Under her white lab coat was a form-fitting short top. Her chest was full and prominent. Beneath her slender willow-like waist were plump, perky hips. Her legs were long and straight. She was simply a natural fit for a black silk uniform show. At this moment, I really wanted to say something back to her. But after thinking about it, forget it, teasing her is meaningless. It's not like I lack this one time. Real action is the way to go. I quickly averted my gaze and ignored her no more. My thoughts shifted to the system's attribute drop mechanism. Food is a big problem. If I want to farm attribute points and items, physical exertion is unavoidable and food is essential. Speaking of food, I looked around the entire dormitory. Only then did I realize that there wasn't much food to be found. The only good news was, as a Douyin live streamer, Su Yang often streamed late into the night, so she had prepared some instant food. The rest were mostly snacks that girls like to eat. Spicy strips, potato chips, and other high-calorie foods. As for water sources, the dormitory used barreled water. There was still more than half a barrel left unused. In fact, the tap water was still running normally, but I didn't dare to take the risk. Who knew if it might contain the zombie virus? The electricity was also working normally. Thinking of this, I quickly plugged my phone in to charge and tried to call the police. Sorry, the number you are calling is currently busy. Since I couldn't get through, I put down my phone. As expected, I walked to the window and carefully opened the curtain. Immediately, my pupils contracted. The dormitory was on the top floor, offering an unobstructed view of the outside situation. At this moment, on the square outside, there were zombies almost everywhere, along with students fleeing in panic. But compared to the speed of the zombies, ordinary students had no chance of escaping. In less than 10 seconds, I had already seen nearly 20 people tackled to the ground by zombies and being frantically devoured. Blood was everywhere, and there were cries of despair. I quickly drew the curtain shut, took a deep breath, and calmed myself down. I was right. The doomsday had really arrived. After thinking for a moment, first of all, I plugged in all the power banks in the dormitory to charge for backup use. The phone must remain fully charged at all times to receive news from the outside world. Then I sat down on the bed, took a bag of potato chips from the snack box, and started eating quickly. To replenish my strength, at the same time, I picked up my phone to check news from the outside world online. In the corner, seeing me sit directly on her bed with my outer pants on, Su Yang wanted to say something but held back. Normally, if anyone dared to do this, she would have chewed them out fiercely. But at this moment, Su Yang silently shut her mouth. The scene of the sanctimonious bitch being thrown out of the dormitory was still vivid in her mind. On the bed, I was scrolling through my phone, as expected. As soon as I went online, I saw a lot of news about zombies appearing. The situation was very bad. Zombies were popping up everywhere across the entire blue star. A large number of humans had been infected, and other creatures were no exception. Some creatures had even undergone horrible mutations. The doomsday had truly come. After sighing inwardly, I felt an uncontrollable excitement. Great, now I don't have to pay back the money I owed. From now on, this shitty slavish life is officially over. With a cheat in hand, I have no worries about surviving in the post-apocalyptic world at all. As I scrolled through my phone, I finished a bag of potato chips before I knew it, poured a glass of water to moisten my throat, and looked teasingly at the three huddled in the corner. How about it? Calling the police didn't work, right? I had noticed earlier that the three of them were secretly trying to call the police on their phones, but I didn't bother to stop them. It was just right to let these three little fairies experience. What despair is... What on earth is going on here? Faced with the fact that calling the police was useless, Su Yang and the other two turned pale. Their eyes were filled with helplessness. The end of the world is here. Understand? I curled up the corner of my mouth. The money and backgrounds you relied on in the past, and your so-called social status, have all vanished along with civilized society. They're useless now. What's coming next is a new post-apocalyptic world where the strong prey on the weak. Does that make sense to you? After saying that, I stood up, right in front of the three of them. Whoosh! Imung-di pulled the curtain fully open. Sunlight poured in instantly, accompanied by a disgusting smell of blood. The dormitory was on the 6th floor, so I wasn't afraid of being discovered by the zombies on the square. The remaining sunlight was extremely intense. But at this moment, Su Yang and the other two by the window felt their entire bodies go cold. Overcome by fear, their bodies even started trembling involuntarily. Everywhere they looked, the square was strewn with human limbs and dripping with blood, along with a large number of terrifying zombies, with ferocious faces frantically feeding. Further away, thick smoke rose from the roads. Car accidents happened frequently. Several residential buildings were even completely engulfed in flames. The roaring fire burned more and more fiercely. The fire spread continuously. Cries, smashing sounds, cries for help, all kinds of harsh breaking sounds. And the violent collision booms from car accidents at this moment composed a magnificent movement for the arrival of the doomsday. I pulled the curtain shut again, looking at the three little fairies whose faces had turned deathly pale from fear. I felt extremely refreshed in my heart. I spread my arms wide and said with an exaggerated smile, "Ladies, welcome to the new world." Faced with this terrifying reality, Su Yang and the other two exchanged glances and saw deep despair in each other's eyes. The doomsday has truly arrived. Su Yang and the other two realized in despair that if they wanted to survive in this cruel doomsday, it seemed that I was the only one they could rely on. As for fending for themselves, what could they do when they lacked the strength to even tie a chicken? Gurgle. As the sun set, night fell. I carefully opened the lid of the instant noodles. In an instant, a strong aroma filled the dormitory. The stomachs of Su Yang and the other two in the corner immediately began growling uncontrollably. I thought about my next plan. Unconsciously, I stirred the instant noodles in the bucket with a plastic fork, which made the aroma of the food spread even more intensely. Coming back to my senses, I cast a glance and saw the three little fairies huddled in the corner of the dormitory, staring eagerly at the instant noodles and constantly swallowing their saliva. A blood-stained long knife was placed on the table, exuding a strong deterrent force. The three of them wanted to speak but held back. "Are you hungry?" I lifted some instant noodles with the fork, swung them slightly and grinned teasingly. Su Yang and the other two nodded quickly. "You want to eat?" "That's easy," I smiled slightly, slurped a mouthful of instant noodles, and looked at the three of them casually. "My request is simple. If I'm satisfied, you can fill your stomachs." Seeing my aggressive gaze sweeping over them, Su Yang and the other two froze. They immediately understood, quickly hugged their bodies defensively, stepped back 2 paces, and shook their heads repeatedly. "We're not hungry," they refused. "You eat." "Yes, that's right. We're not hungry now. In fact, we haven't digested lunch yet." As the three spoke, they shrank back into the corner, and the looks they gave me were full of disdain. "He's just a toad lusting after swan meat. Does he really think a bucket of instant noodles can make us give in? Dream on." Su Yang's face was full of contempt. As a Douyin streamer with 1 million followers, she was also recognized as the campus's top beauty. Once a top sponsor offered her 500,000 yuan for a night, but she didn't budge. She had kept her chastity intact. In her plan, her first night was worth at least 1 million yuan. Moreover, she hated men like me who objectified women the most. Does he think a bucket of instant noodles can take my virginity? Am I that cheap? Zhongli and Lin Yuexuan thought pretty much the same. They sneered inwardly. Both of them were recognized as campus belle-level beauties. Many wealthy second-generation students in the school had given them expensive bags and jewelry, yet they hadn't even been able to touch their hands. Now he wants us to sleep with him for a bucket of instant noodles? Impossible. Wake up, stop daydreaming. Oh, so you're still not willing? It's fine. I have enough patience to wait slowly. I hope you can stay this tough forever. I raised an eyebrow, not caring at all. I quickly finished the instant noodles, patted my stomach, lay down on the bed and continued scrolling through my phone. There was still internet access for now. Taking advantage of this time, I needed to download some key materials related to post-apocalyptic survival. It's better to be prepared than sorry. While the materials were downloading, it was as if I suddenly remembered something. I turned to look at Su Yang and the other two in the corner, and reminded them kindly. By the way, I almost forgot to tell you. There's only so much food left in the dormitory now. First come, first served. People will starve to death if they don't eat. Starve to death? As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of Su Yang and the other two all changed. They had almost forgotten that there was only so much food in the dormitory. If someone ate more, naturally others would have to eat less, or even have nothing to eat. Starving to death wasn't just an empty threat. The doomsday had just begun, and rescue was nowhere in sight. At this moment, various thoughts raced through Su Yang and the other two's minds, and their expressions kept changing. When I, lying on the bed, saw this scene, I grinned teasingly. Sure enough, competition brings pressure. I'm a bit looking forward to how the three of them will change next. Around 10 o'clock in the evening, I put down my phone, feeling a little tired. I couldn't find any more useful information, and the entire girls' dormitory building gradually quieted down at this time. Suddenly, in the darkness, I felt someone gently tug at the corner of my clothes. I narrowed my eyes slightly, and with my right hand I casually groped for the long knife placed beside me. "Be big brother!" My voice was faint, softly suppressed. I was immediately intrigued and raised an eyebrow. Wow, what do we have here? It turns out a little fairy has come to beg for food. From the voice, it should be Lin Yuexuan, who was interning at the hospital. You want something to eat? I curled up the corner of my mouth and turned on the phone screen. Under the dim light was Lin Yuexuan's delicate oval face that looked so pitiful. Su Yang and the other girl in the corner had fallen into a deep sleep without anyone noticing. No wonder she had come to me at this time. Please. Big brother, give me a little food. I'll do anything you want me to. Lin Yuexuan had crawled over quietly. Kneeling on the ground, she begged pitifully. Looking at the beautiful face before me, I couldn't help but reach out and touch it. Her skin was smooth and delicate. It was obvious she took good care of herself usually. Anything I want? I grinned teasingly. Lin Yuexuan's cheeks flushed red. Unconsciously, she lowered her usually proud head. Everyone knows you should pay attention to hygiene before any activity, but the situation doesn't allow it now. I casually picked up a small biscuit from the side and put it inside Lin Yuexuan's white lab coat. I patted her face. Know what to do now? Lin Yuexuan bit her red lips lightly and lowered her head. This is the doomsday. To survive, Lin Yuexuan silently said I'm sorry to her boyfriend who was thousands of miles away. Such a good girl. Here's your reward. I seemed extremely satisfied with this. I handed over another small piece of biscuit. Soon faint scattered sounds arose. Next came the sound of swallowing food. In less than half a minute, Lin Yuexuan had eaten the biscuit in her hand clean. She licked her red lips and looked at me with seductive eyes. She bit her red lips gently. Brother, I want more, she said. Her stomach had been empty for almost a whole day. 2 small biscuits were far from enough to satisfy her. You want more? A smile curled up the corner of my mouth. I patted the bed. That's a different price. Lin Yuexuan's eyes were as silky as threads, full of charm. She didn't hesitate at all. The feeling of an empty stomach was really unbearable. People who had never experienced hunger could never understand it, even though it was just a piece of cheap biscuit that she usually wouldn't even glance at. At this moment, for Lin Yuexuan, it was simply the most delicious thing in the world. As she took off her outer white lab coat, Lin Yuexuan's figure was immediately fully revealed. Although it wasn't as voluptuous as Su Yao's, it was still equally impressive. She had a curvaceous figure with a shapely bust and hips. What surprised me even more was that, after she took off her outer pants, she was actually wearing white silk stockings on her beautiful legs. Lin Yuexuan explained this as a personal preference. Looking at the round silver-rimmed glasses on her face and all her previous behaviors, I couldn't help but sigh in my heart. What a contrast. The outside world was already utterly silent. Occasionally, a scream or two could be heard. In the dormitory, as I was about to act with Yuexuan, I suddenly heard a voice in my ear. Brother Li. What do you want to do? Do it. I nodded. My eyes wandered freely over the stunning beauty in front of me. Feeling embarrassed, Lin Yuexuan lowered her head, blushing profusely. It's okay, just treat me as your boyfriend. He'll never know anyway. His own stunning girlfriend had taken the initiative to climb onto my bed.